So thanks for coming. It was really nice. We've got people from all over the place. We've got people from San Antonio and, you know, down the street in Portsmouth and California, I believe, and north of Providence, which is in Rhode Island terms a really long way away. Yeah. I've been sent a bunch of questions by people, and Jill received a lot of questions. So I just want to do some introductions. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Tracy from STitchery in Portsmouth, and I just wanted to help bring some people together and ask Jill some awkward questions, because that's always amusing. And Jill, as most people know, she's probably the biggest draw for this, because I know I'm not a draw. She's a Rhode Island based indie dyer. She's gone from strength to strength. She's only been up like 2.5 years, 3 years, Jill. And you have been at
opened a year ago in February.
And you've been at so many fiber festivals and so many big events and featured by so many other designers that it's kind of astounding how quickly that's happened. So I kind of want to know your secrets. But just to get us started, you have had so many different pattern releases recently featuring your yarn. How have you made that happen?
I don't know. I think it's like a great question. I don't know that I made it happen, but it did happen, luckily. I don't know, I have a few people I know who design, and I've met them at different things, and most of the designers like I know are really famous people who don't know me, so that makes it kind of strange to figure out how to work that out. But as I started going to the shows and things, I met more people. Like Jennifer's on there, she's wearing her new sweater in Jilly and Kiddles yarn.
Oh,
she has the white with the blue stripe.
Yeah.
So that's Jennifer Walsh. She just released that like this week.
It's
This week. Within like the last 7 days, she released that pattern. It's called the Sippican Harbor sweater. It's super cute. But yeah, we met at Rhinebeck at the Yarn Bazaar, and I said, "Oh, I like your sweater." She was wearing a different sweater, and she was with her mom, and her mom also had on the same sweater, like not the same colors, I think, but they matched. And she says, "Oh, I designed this." Oh, right there. So that's the sweater. So she said, "Oh, she was there, her mom and her mom's friend, and they all had the matching sweaters, and it was adorable." And so we just like kept chatting, and then it turns out she's in Massachusetts. So, you know, like an hour away. So we ended up just, hey, like, let's work together. And she said, yeah. And I'm like, every time I ask them when they say yes, I feel like,
That's
right. So I get really excited, and it's awesome. Hi, Jamie. Hi. So, yeah, that's kind of how it started, stuff like that, where I just meet someone and I ask. And then at some point, I put something up on Instagram and said, hey, I have a call. Like, if you design and you want yarn, you know, talk to me. Let's have a conversation. Let's start chatting. And all of a sudden, things just like kept flowing in. So I don't know why that worked. And I had a lot of people say, hey, I never thought about doing it like that before.
Right.
I don't know. I didn't know how to do it. So I just tried whatever I could think of.
Right.
And that worked really well. So when people chat, I mostly say, yeah, let's go for it. And it's been working out. So I'm very lucky.
It's nice that you put together the kits to go with some of the sweaters that you've got, that you're supporting with yarn. It's really handy to have the kits ready to go.
Yeah, they're a little tricky because there are so many sizes. Like, as everything pushes towards more size inclusive, which is a great thing, it means there are a lot of different options. Like, so one sweater this size might take 4 of these and 1 of those, and the next one takes 4 of these but 2 of those, and so on. It just keeps growing, and it's really hard to have them like ready to roll, but I try to do that when I can. Sometimes it's easier for people just to buy as many skeins as they need and the one contrast, so it sort of depends. But kits don't sell as quickly as I would think. Like, people always ask about them if you don't have them. When you have them, they don't always buy them. So I don't know, like, if there's something that you want, you say it and then I do it. Okay, that's how it works.
Nice that you do a lot more support of crochet patterns too, because I feel like a lot of designers don't support crochet. So that's been nice to see. Not that I'm an avid crocheter, but it has been nice to see that you've been supporting crochet patterns as well, because yeah, you really don't see that as much.
you don't see it as much. And I just had a lot of people come in at like these tiny little fairs I was doing and saying, oh, like, do you have anything in crochet? And I'd say, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, I don't really crochet much, you know, because I didn't think I was a good enough crocheter to crochet something to showcase, right?
Right.
So it just wouldn't look good. To be honest, I'm not great at it. And so I realized that there was a market for that. And so I met someone who does crochet, and she said, hey, if you ever want samples, like, I could do that. And so I said, yeah, absolutely. So I have a couple of options for crochet samples in my booth that I show, and they're really well received. Like, people love that. Like, they like that they're being represented when they usually go to these things and they aren't represented.
Right.
So I said, why not reach out to crochet people and see if I could get some patterns going. So that's a slower startup, but I'm working on it. So if you have crochet pattern writers that you like, tell me so that I can reach out to them and see if I can get them designing in my yarn too.
I do like that you actually sort of commission that crochet version of the Vernell bangle. Because that's why I might have a number of the bangles anyway from a previous lifetime, an incarnation of the Vernell bangle. And it was really cool to see that now has been written up in a pattern for crochet, because it looks really great in crochet as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but I think it works. I just reached out to someone I know who does a lot of crochet, and I said, she happened to say, when I posted them, she said, oh, I love crochet bangles. I said, they're actually knitted. And she said she did a bunch of crochet ones, and because, you know, we're friends separately, she sent me all these pictures, and she's like texting me pictures of all her old crochet bangles. And that's like, Katiusca, you need to make some of these for me. Like, you need to make this something people can do. And she said, no problem. So we've been working on that for a couple of months, and now it's all set. And we just rolled them out like maybe last week, a week or two ago. So they've been pretty well received. Yeah, people like them. Good. I haven't yet to make one because I'm a terrible crocheter.
Yeah, I know. I like how I'm not a great crocheter, so it could be a good first project, first actual project for crochet for me.
I'll try one. I'll do it. And even if it's bad, I'll show it, and I'll just tell people, you know, I made this myself. Like, it's gonna look like a 5-year-old made it. Okay.
Project wise, is there anything coming up in the future that you can tell us about yet, or
yeah, so I have a couple more there. I don't have patterns. Designers have patterns coming out in my yarn soon. So tomorrow a new shawl comes out by Erineen Designs. She's in New Hampshire. And I'm trying to think of how I met her. It was through someone else, but I'm drawing a blank. But she designed a shawl in the same colors as the sweater that Jennifer has on, with that the creamy and the blue. So it's very complimentary. And I was like, how nice that they're going to come out within the same week, because it's perfect. So that's Celestial Light and Low Fat Milk. And for those of you who don't know, Tracy and I know each other because of her shop, BritStitchery, but also we're in the Knitting and Donut Society.
Yes.
So you might have seen some of my posts about that. So we go and meet once a month when it's not a quarantine.
Yeah.
And have donuts together, and everyone knits or crochets or whatever. And so that white-ish color was named on one of those. I said, I'm not really sure what to call this. And Becky says, oh, what about like low fat milk? Because it has almost like a littlest bit of a blue tinge. Like, it looks like a light skim milk. Yep. And so I just stuck with that. It was perfect.
It's a perfect name. You don't forget it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The shawl is called the Salthill shawl.
Okay.
So that'll be released tomorrow on Ravelry.
Nice.
And then yesterday or maybe today, I thought it was going to come out later in the week, but I think today came out the Emmerly sweater, which is, I have it right here.
Okay.
Coincidence? No, but this is, I don't usually have the samples, but Lena sent this to me. So I don't know, how about if I do this? Can you see that? Kind of?
Oh, you can, yeah.
So it sort of has like, she calls it a ballet neck, but I think of it like almost like a boat neck.
Yeah.
And it sort of is like a tunic style with some color work at the bottom.
Oh, look.
And
yeah.
It's made out of tadpole, and Into the Mystic is the blue. And so that just came out today. It's made in fancy. So it's a very thin, lightweight sweater. It's like perfect for that. You know, when you just need a little something, it's like the perfect, I feel it, and I want to make one just like it. But that
in
just
all
came
your spare
out.
time. In all your spare time.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
then in a couple of weeks.
Go ahead.
What was that?
Go ahead.
In a couple of weeks, on Mother's Day, I think, another one is coming out called the Ringer Tea. And it's like styled like a short sleeve Ringer t-shirt. And so she made it in gray with the yellow like contrast on the cuffs of the sleeve and on the top, not on the bottom. The bottom's just all gray all the way down with a hem. And it's super cute. So I'm excited for that one to come out.
Excellent. That's exciting. Like, we don't get a lot of like sort of summer knits, if summer ever happens. So anybody who's not on the East Coast, spring hasn't happened yet.
No, we had snow a couple of days ago, and it wasn't great.
No.
But yeah, the most of those designs were supposed to come out for Stitches United, which would have been the end of March. But it didn't happen. So like everything got topsy-turvy and crazy, and then, like, it's hard to know when to release it. You can't show it. So how do you, do that? So they're sort of kind of trickling out, and I think that's sort of better due to the circumstance that there isn't some big show to debut everything. Like, here they are, look at them. Right. So we can kind of like trickle them out.
In regards to your colorways, what is your particular favorite out of all of your colorways? Like, I'm always interested to see which ones people like the most.
My favorite changes sort of all the time. Like, I have an instinct for what I want to say is my favorite, but sometimes I'll have something new and I'm like, this is kind of like my current favorite. So that sort of cycles, but I think Lava Lamp is just my all-time favorite ever. But
I chose that as the password and I didn't know. I chose it as the password and I had no idea.
Oh, I thought that's why you did that. So,
no, I had no idea. I had no idea. So that worked out.
That's my favorite.
Have you had many colorways that you just absolutely loved and people have just not responded to?
Yeah, that does happen sometimes. I know in the beginning I had a lot of trouble with Tadpole, the one that sweater was in. And so this one, so I had a couple things I wanted to chat about. So I have a few things over here. Hopefully I have all the things I need because I can't go very far, but this is one of my favorites. I don't know how well I can show it. Like, if I hide my face. So it has like kind of some pink and it goes to like blues and greens and grays. It's a really muted with that pop of pink. And, there's a lot of things you learn when you first start besides like all the dyeing and everything and how to get all your supplies and figuring out a website and figuring out how to Instagram for business and et cetera, right? How do I do a show? But stuff like photography, you wouldn't believe it's so important and you don't know how to do it. And you think, well, I'll take some pictures and things aren't selling. And I think it's the pictures. Like, it's not capturing that one as it is like in person. It's just amazing. And it just was never selling. So I revamped, I've learned a lot about picture taking and I revamped a lot of them. You can always tell an early colorway that maybe I haven't revamped yet because the pictures are atrocious and they're like all shadowy and
right.
So I do them as I can. It's hard to go back and fix them all, but I'm working on it.
How did you get started talking about like when you first started out? How did you start why did you start dyeing? How did that come about?
Well, I have been knitting for a while, knitting, crocheting, spinning, etc. I know Christy Glass refers to it as a lifestyle. So I've been knitting as a lifestyle since about 2005, which her definition is that like you knit every day. It's something you do every day. Like every day you brush your teeth, it's like part of your lifestyle. Like you just would knit every day and that's it. And so at some point, all these indie yarns were coming out and they're amazing and they're pricey and I wanted to use them all. And I thought, well, gee, I wonder if I could do that. And I kind of pushed that off the back of my mind because like, that's crazy. There's so much to it, etc. And I started following people and watching different like YouTube channels and things like that. And so I'd see a tutorial about it, or I'd see someone talking about what they do, a yarn dyer who talks some about their process.
Yep.
And I think I can do that. I don't know, like I don't have a great reason why it just got in my head that I could try and do that and I would be good at it and people would want to buy it. I don't know, but I did. I got it in my head and then I just went for it. I don't know. I tried and practiced and got what I thought was a good product. And then I said, just gonna do it. Like, I don't know. I can't explain it. It doesn't sound like a good choice when I explain it out loud.
And then like within a year, you're at Vogue Knitting Live, which is kind of astounding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was wild. Yeah. I mean, I was there because of the Launchpad program. Without that, I would never have been at Vogue Knitting Live
Right.
at that point, because it's a really big investment. The people who are there for their business, who have a booth or double booth or triple booths, like they're spending so much more money than you would even imagine. Like it's so much. But the Launchpad, VKL came up with this idea. They have a new diversity council as of this year, and they came up with the idea of doing this Launchpad program. So it's for new or just starting or about to start small businesses.
Yep.
You had to apply and talk about your process and like what you do, how long you've been doing it, challenges you've had.
Yep.
And then I got in, and there were about 50 businesses, I think, that applied, and they picked 20.
Wow.
So I was very, very lucky to get in there. And then part of the program was we did all these webinars with experts who came in and taught us about marketing and business planning and, you know, keeping the books and how to do the finances and all this stuff. And that was really, really neat. We had Cece Nelson came in, and she did diversity. And like we learned so many different things. And then at the end, if you like passed, if you did the full program and you did everything you were required to do, then you were able to go to VKL and be part of this program, and you'd have like a set amount of space, like not a booth, but like I had a 4-foot by 8-foot grid wall, and that was my space, my little section of wall, and we got a reduced price, and we were able to go and do that. And then they helped to advertise us and talk about it and draw people in. And it was absolutely amazing. Like that was a huge, huge, big deal.
I remember seeing pictures of you packing 2 rolling suitcases with all of your yarn to take down on the train.
There was so much. I had many, many suitcases in my room full of yarn, like because it was unpredictable and none of us had done it. So it's all these people who had been in business a very short amount of time. I think I was one of the longest ones, and I was under a year still in January. And so they're like, well, what do we do? I said, I don't really know, but I'll try and help you. So we just brought like as much as we could. And I had gotten hurt in December. I hurt my back. I fractured one of my vertebrae. So my dying time was severely reduced for quite some time. And I really didn't know what I could bring, how much I could carry, you know, and all that. So it was kind of a guessing game, but it was a great experience and really good exposure. And I sold a lot of yarn, so it's all good, you know. It was a really huge blessing.
Purpose, right? The purpose of the whole game is selling the yarn.
Exactly.
How do you? I mean, you've got some like not crazy names for yarn, but more unusual names for your yarn. How do you come up with those names? Like I'm like curious to ask about like the lava lamp. Like what's going on there? Is that something very odd from your past?
So lava lamp, something about the orange. The lava lamp color, which of course I don't have that one in front of me, but it has like a really glowy quality to it to me.
Yeah.
And it looks like lava. And I thought, well, lava's kind of lame. I don't like to be too predictable. So if it looks like lava, I can't name it lava.
Yeah.
But then it also has like kind of a 70s vibe, you know, like that avocado and the like rusty oranges. And I don't know, it's just something about it hit that like 70s kitchen vibe.
Yep.
And then I thought about a lava lamp, and my dad had one. It was blue, not orange, but it made me think of that. And then it just was sort of set, like that's where that one came from. But I don't know, they come from all different things. Some of them come from songs.
Which one comes from songs? Which ones come from songs?
Orange Crush comes from a song. When I was in high school, we were the Wildcats. Our colors were orange.
Okay.
Blue was my favorite color, but it became my favorite color while I was in high school. But we were orange and black, and we when the teams would like ramp up, you know, before like a basketball game or whatever, they would play REM's Orange Crush because of orange, right? Like there are not a lot of songs with orange in them. Right. So when I made the Orange Crush colorway, I was working with a designer, and she wanted something like that. So I made that, and then I came up with that song. I don't know. It just seemed right. I don't know. That's where we came up with that one. There's a couple others, like Into the Mystic is off of from a song too. It's not the name of the song. I'm gonna draw a blank. I can't think of the song now, but they say like that they sail into the mystic. So I don't know. If anyone knows that song, like write it in the chat, because I'm drawing like a total blank on that. It's an older song. And it's just really calm, and it kind of works with those colors, and they remind me kind of the ocean, but like in a dusty Way, like a dusty blue. Yeah.
Right, right. What was, has there been any colorways that you had a really hard time giving it a name?
You know, usually the one of a kinds. For some reason, those are harder, and I don't know why. My husband says, "Oh, you know, like they're just one of a kind." Like, so I do a lot of like waste management, so to speak, where I try to make sure I use everything. Like, I don't want anything going to waste, both economically and like for the environment. So if I have, you know, I use dye stocks, so it's a liquid stock with dye in it as opposed to just powders.
Mm-hmm.
When I get to the end, I need to make more, but I can't just keep the old like 2 drips that are in there.
Right.
I have to clean it out, and I don't want to clean that and put that down the drain. So I use it and I put it into a pot. So I'll rinse, I put it in a pot, rinse, put it in a pot. And I use those to make one of a kind because they're not really recreatable. Like, it's not possible for me to measure how many milliliters of that, you know, mustard yellow I used,
Right.
because I'm like rinsing it with water. So it doesn't, you can't track it. So I make one of a kinds minis that I later can sell, but I can't make them again.
Which is a shame because some of them are really, really, really lovely.
So inevitably, when I'm talking to a designer, they give me like 3 colors they might want to use, and like at least 2 of them are one of a kind minis.
I've done it.
I can't make that again for you.
I'm like, oh, I love that color. You're like, there's 3 mini skeins. That's it.
Yeah. So those are really hard. And even though there may only be 5 or 6, and they won't be around that long. So it's no pressure.
Right.
It feels like pressure. I don't know. I have a hard time to name them. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
When I mean, like, if you're using all of your yarn, like, what's like the largest amount of yarn that you've ever had to dye in a very short period of time?
Like the most yarn I've dyed in a day or something?
Right, right.
The most yarn I've had to dye in a day would probably be either getting ready for the Rhinebeck Yarn Bazaar, or because that pulled together really fast. Like, I think we had about 6 weeks or so to get everything ready.
Uh-huh.
And I brought a ton of yarn to Rhinebeck. And then once I felt a little bit better, I dyed a quick amount for Vogue Knitting Live because I'd been like off my feet for like at least 3 weeks.
Yep.
Probably one of those. I want to say the most I've done, like a solid, like, but quiet dye day for me would be to do like 6 pots, you know, like at one time, or 3 and 3, whatever. Maybe it's all the same. And there's about 4 to a pot for most colorways. I have a few that only have 3, but if I did 6 pots of 4, that's 24. So if I did one session, like all 6 pots today, that's like your standard day. I do that almost every day. A busier day for me normally would be 2 sessions. So twice that. I'll do all 6, they cool, I rinse them, whatever. And then later in the evening, I do another whole run.
Wow.
And it might not be the same colors, but you know, I do 6 pots worth. So that's like a busy day now, would be about 48 in a day, which is a lot. The most I've ever done, I think I did 3 in a day.
Wow.
So that'd be 72, maybe. And I did flat pots too. So I have 6 burners. So I can do 6 stock pots, or I can do 3 like a hotel pan, you know, like a large lasagna, like a catering tray.
Yeah.
I could do 3 of those. So that would be like another 12. I think that's the most I've done in a day. Whatever that gets me to, like 84. It was a lot. Yeah. That's the kind of day where you go lay in bed, you just like flop. Like, you can't even I think I was asleep before Brian's like, hey, good night. Like, you okay? I'm just out and just sleep like a baby. Yeah.
On the off chance that, you know, we ever get let out of our houses ever again, do you have any possible plans to be going back to Rhinebeck again this year? Is that in the cards for you?
I don't know. Well, I am going to Rhinebeck. And Jamie's there. I see her. I don't know. I was going to say she's 2 down, but I don't know what your screen looks like. But she has a bunch of yarn behind her. So Jamie is also a yarn dyer. She's M1 Yarns. Yep. And say hi. Say wave, Jamie. Okay, that's Jamie. So we're Rhinebeck housemates this year.
Yay!
I will be there for Rhinebeck. And at Rhinebeck, I get to just go and chill and hang and say hi to people. And, like, you know, it's kind of schmooze, but also like just visit and have a good time. So yep. I don't know if the Yarn Bazaar is going to happen this year or what they're doing exactly, but I don't think I'm going to do that this year, because I think it's going to be different from what I understand if it happens. With all the quarantine, I kind of lost track of what was happening. Right. But I did apply for Indie Untangled this year, so I don't know if I'll get in or not. I'm hopeful. Fingers crossed.
Aren't they having more locations this year? So a higher, I heard there was more locations for Indian Tangled,
There's more days.
or is it for, yeah.
I think it's like 4 days now.
That's nuts.
I don't know, 2 days, maybe it's 2 days instead of 1 day. What was it last year? I forgot.
I don't know. Actually, no, I never do Indian Tangle. I never get there early enough. I don't get there early enough, and I'm not good with crowds.
Well, last year I was doing the bazaar, so that's the same time, so I didn't get to go. Yeah, I think last year they extended and did a lot earlier. So they did like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., I believe.
Yeah.
So I think this year it'll be 2 days, but I don't know that there are more locations. I'm not sure.
Maybe I'm getting that mixed up with the Christy Glass event. It could be.
Maybe, yeah. Because I think the bazaar might be more locations. That might be what you're thinking of. That's why I didn't want to do that one. I mean, it'll still be fine. Like, I'm sure that'll be fine. But I applied, so fingers crossed, hopefully I get in there. I'd really love to do that. And if not, then I'll just go hang out with Jamie and everybody, and we'll have a good time and do Rhinebeck. It's great.
Yep. Have a good weekend, because that's what Rhinebeck's about.
Exactly.
What did you do before you were a diet? Like, I know you're like, you've got 4 kids, which is more than enough for anybody. But prior to that, like, what did you do before that?
I didn't really like have a big career before that. So Brian and I are high school, college sweethearts. We met in college, and I went a couple of years. I'm a very unusual person. So I have like a lot of irons in the fire, so to speak. So I either wanted to be a math major, or I wanted to do, people are coming through, so sorry.
That's okay.
I either want to be a math major, or I wanted to be a writer. Like,
that's not different at all.
Right, so either creative or like math science. So I said, you know what? It seems frivolous to be like a writer by profession, because I could always do that anyway. Like, I should have something solid. And I thought, I'll be responsible. I'll go do math. And so I went as a math major, and it's about as much fun as you would think a math major would be. It's really, really a blast. But it was turned out to not be for me. So math gets kind of weird when you get to super high levels, and I didn't like it. So
math got weird for me at about 5th grade. So it's fine.
So the school I was at was really, really great for like math, science, and engineering. It was very elite, but if you don't want to do that, like, you can't do English there, you can't do literature or, education, you can do something else. So I ended up leaving. I said, well, maybe I will be an English major after all. But then that seemed kind of, I don't know, I didn't know if that was enough. I don't know why. Your gut tells you should do something because it's a good idea, and you don't do it. I kept talking myself out of it. Yeah, so I said, oh, that's not responsible, so maybe I'll be like a teacher, education and English, and then I could write if I want, but I could also teach, so like, it's responsible. And so I decided to take a semester off, and having put 2 years in and like 2 years worth of loans, I said, why don't I just try and like be a teacher's assistant or something somewhere, like make sure this is something that I want to do.
Right.
So I worked at a preschool as a teacher's assistant, where you don't have to already have a degree. You had to have a certain amount of college, which I did. And so I did that for a semester. It was fun. So I thought, yeah, I'll do that. So then I went back. But in the meantime, Brian had graduated. So he was moving to Fall River, and I moved too. We were engaged. And so we just went there. And I don't know, I did school there. Well, so I did a semester where I was, and then we moved, and then I did another semester at a different school. And then I took a semester off because we were getting married. So by the time it was time for our wedding, I wanted to be able to go on a honeymoon and not have to like stay home because of tests. I don't know. So that seemed really in my responsible mode. I was
not
like,
very romantic.
So I said, I'll get a temp job and just do something for a while and save money for the wedding, and I'll be free when it's time for the honeymoon and whatever. So I did that, and then I ended up working there a little bit longer after we were married. Then we were going to move to California. So I said, well, I'll wait, and when we move, I'll just sign up. I'll go to school there. And in the meantime, we knew we wanted a big family, so we thought, oh, well, we'll just try and see what happens. Like, sometimes people don't get pregnant for a couple of years. And if we move to California, like, we'll just wait, and we'll have babies when we come back. We'll come back. And so, Brian was trying out for jobs and different things. I was working my temp job, and then they brought us out. So he had a company that was interested. So they flew us both out. We checked out San Francisco. It was beautiful. And I just felt like really ill the whole weekend for no reason. And, you know, like the exhaust fumes were making me sick and I was really cranky. He's like, what's your problem? You know? So, it turns out when we got back, we figured out I was late and we were going to have one of the first Kiddles. So, we turned out to be pregnant, which was great news. And so we decided to not move out there, stay here and have, our kids near like our families. And so, yeah, I worked the temp job till, well, they hired me on. It wasn't a temp job anymore, but I was at the same place. And then, like I was kind of running an office sort of. And then I was a stay-at-home mom. Like when Erineen was born, I stayed home and that was that. Like I just have been home. I've been home.
And now you're young, Daya.
It's like 2000. Since November 2000, I've been home. Yeah. So, and then till I started this. So that was a long-winded for.
But you know, you produced a whole like, warehouse staff full of